Now then, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about why I don't get closer with street photography. Now, a quote that you hear repeated quite often in the street photography community is one from Robert Capa that goes, "If your photo isn't good enough, you're not close enough." Robert Capa, though, was a war photographer and photojournalist and not really a street photographer per se, so it made a lot more sense for him to be right there in the thick of it all to best tell the story he was there to cover. But it was this quote and the way it's used in the photography community, the street photography community specifically, that kind of steered me away from street photography initially. Getting close to photograph random people on the street takes honestly a level of confidence and disregard for their feelings that I simply don't have, and I'll be completely honest, I don't really like the look. In our modern world of hyperconnectivity, I have long since abandoned any notion of true privacy, especially living in a city. The second we step onto the street, we're being observed by any number of security cameras, dash cams, phones, even doorbells, and we have no knowledge of how that is going to be used, but these have all become accepted norms. I can walk down the street fully aware that I'm visible on all types of devices, but it kind of gets lost in the noise of the city. It just all kind of blends in because it's not right there in your face. But even as someone who takes photos for a living, having some random person with a camera get in your face, take your photo and then move on without even breaking stride would honestly annoy the hell out of me. I understand it, but I don't have to like it. And while I accept that this is the approach that many street photographers choose to take, it's absolutely not for me. It might sound like a cliche, but I don't want to be this person responsible for breaking someone else's moment of peace, and I don't think that my right to take a photograph in a public space outweighs an individual's right to personal space. You can never know what any given individual is experiencing within their own little bubble. So I much prefer to be like the security cameras, off in the distance. People know I'm there, but I'm not close enough and intrusive enough for them to really take notice or even care. So does this mean I'll potentially miss fantastic images? I doubt it, because they're not the type of images that speak to me anyway, and I would rather miss photographic opportunities than be the guy who ruins someone's day. Now, I completely agree with Gary Winogrand in that the term street photography is too vague to be useful. Street photography seems to have always covered everything from documentary photography through architecture and portraiture, and everybody's approach to that is going to be different, and the tools you need to accomplish your goal will be different. But no matter what I'm shooting, I always watch the light. I look at how things move through a particular scene. I watch how the light creates shadows and shapes, and I watch how those shadows and shapes move as time progresses. So regardless of what I'm trying to shoot, my process very rarely changes. So no, I'm not a street photographer, I'm just a photographer. And as such, I don't feel the need to impose unnecessary restrictions just because people say that's how it was traditionally done. Now, going back to Robert Capa's quote, I much prefer Alex Webb's interpretation of that quote, saying that getting close doesn't necessarily mean physically getting close, but more like emotionally and spiritually. And thinking about it in this way made me look at street photography differently and pushed me into using the longer focal lengths, which I much prefer. Now, many of my favourite photographers were artists too. Henri Cartier-Bresson, Sol Leiter, just to name a couple, and they shot at focal lengths of 50mm or longer for a lot of their work. Now, shooting at these longer focal lengths allows me to get more of the types of images that I like, and it also allows me to be far enough away that I'm not self-conscious about pointing a camera at a complete stranger. It also doesn't change their behaviour, whilst at the same time still being wide enough from way back there to get enough of the surroundings to tell the story. Now, when someone tells me that I can't or shouldn't do something in any particular art medium, my immediate reaction is to ask why. It's art. And when it comes to photography, I'd much rather do my own thing than copy-paste what is being done already by countless others. Having influences is one thing, but doing something a specific way because that's how it's always been done is stifling, honestly. So when you hear a lot of people in the street photography community say things like 28 or 35 is the street photography standard, well, it doesn't work for me, so I'm going to try something else. Now, this isn't me just trying to be different or edgy, it's just that there's a massive amount of this sort of street photography out there, 28mm, 35mm. There are cameras made specifically for it, and I would much rather bring something different to the conversation and try and, add to it and progress things perhaps even, than just do what's already been done as standard forever. I mean, who the hell wants to be standard anyway? Art to me is about personal expression and interpretation of things, and not just copy-pasting what everyone else is doing in a set medium, because that's the way it's supposed to be, apparently. So while I think it's important to learn the rules of photography and of composition and some of the art techniques as well, I think it's equally important, if not more so, to learn when to break the shit out of those rules to your artistic advantage in order to make your images exactly the way you envision them. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.